if you knew you were enough? What would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette Virna.
Hello everybody, it's your life coach and relationship solutionist Suzette Virna, and welcome to my Enough Factor podcast. Each week I bring you content that amplifies what I've identified as 3 critical factors of enoughness. They are your voice, your value, and your vision. By doing so, we help you to break the cycle of failed relationships and attract real deal, great love into your life. If you are new, one thing that you'll find that's different from other podcasts is the fact that this podcast is specific to women over 40 who are high achievers. And it takes into consideration the unique challenges, the unique obstacles, the dating and relating issues that we have. And for many of us, the struggles are really real. The struggles are an accumulation of picking the same wrong man. He's just wearing different shoes. Or it's after you had that heartbreak or that divorce, you've just kind of felt like something's missing. And as a result of that, you don't feel comfortable back on the dating scene, but you keep finding yourself in situationships or friends with benefits, or it's complicated situations. And so each week I share with you some real talk, some honest insights that I've gained over these 62 years of being alive, with, I would say, over 40 of those years being an adult, right? And so I learned some things that I feel like can really, really help you. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm giving you the real talk with some practical applications, some practical conversation. And I'm grateful that for whatever reason that you stumbled onto my podcast, I'm glad you're here. And for those of you that tune in all the time, hey, I always say you're the wind beneath my wings. You're the reason I keep coming back, because you are picking up what I'm putting down. You're continuing to send me love through my email, through the DMs, comments on Facebook, on Instagram. And I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much. Well, today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind, about what it takes to really have the love that you have been praying for, wishing for, hoping for. I want to get real, because I have found that just because we want it and hope for it and wish for it and pray for it doesn't mean we're ready for it when it shows up. I'm going to ask you a question. If someone showed up right now, showed up today, who had all the qualities that you've been praying for, would you be like, oh, thank you, Lord, for sending him? Or would you be like, can't nobody be that perfect? Wonder what's wrong with them? And you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Waiting for it to drop to the point that you're not able to truly allow yourself to relax enough to experience the normal getting to know somebody period. You want to skip steps. You want to rush it through. You want to figure him out sooner rather than later. But here's the thing. If you're bringing your old mindset to the party, your old mindset is going to sabotage it. And so I feel like there are 2 things that have to happen before you're really open and willing to really get to know a person and to give them the true benefit of the doubt. One of those things is you have to let go of the pain. I like to say you need to fall out of love with the pain. And you might say, Suzette, I'm not in love with the pain. I'm trying to avoid the pain, sister girl. Well, what you focus on is what you get. And if you're so focused on the pain has your focus, has your allegiance, has your attention to the point that you can't even see this new person. You're so busy looking at them through the eyes of your pain, they don't have a chance. You'll never see them for who they truly are because your pain is blinding you. You're so enamored with your pain story, what you've been through, what happened to you, how you got hurt, why you don't trust men. You're so in love with that till you can't even see a good man if God sent him to you tomorrow or today, right? The second thing that you have to fall out of love with is your fantasy. One of the things I've found is nothing stokes a fantasy like pain. When I talk to women and I ask them, what do you want? They tell me all the things that they don't want. Right? And they feel like this fantasy man, if they just meet Mr. Right, he is going to right every wrong that's ever been done to them. If they just meet Mr. Right, they won't have the problems and the hiccups and the struggles they had in previous relationships. That him being Mr. Right will solve it all. And that's simply not true. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you're a good woman? I can imagine that your answer is yes, right? Let me ask you this. Do you make mistakes? Your answer would be right. I'll ask you another question. Do you get it wrong sometimes and have to apologize? I'm sure your answer would be right. Well, why would you expect a good man to be any different? Good men make mistakes. Good men get it wrong. Good men have insecurities too, just like you do. Right? And so if you already are in love with your fantasy ideal of what the right man is or what a real man should be, then there is no room for the man sitting right across the table from you. There's no room for him. I dare say you don't even recognize him. There's no way you can recognize a good man when a bad man is all you can see in your mind's eye. If in your glasses all you see is bad men, how are you going to recognize a good one? What you will end up doing is painting him with the same paintbrush that you paint bad men, because there are qualities that all men have. And you know what that quality is? All men are men. As Jonathan Astley says, he's not a hairy version of yourself. And I want to add, he's not a hairy version of your girlfriends. So just because you and your girlfriends agree about something does not mean you all are right. Because you're looking at it through the lens of being a woman, through the lens, your own feminine lens, but you've never, ever, ever, ever stopped to learn to get to know a man on a man's terms. That's the only way that you can. You can only determine whether a man is a good man based on a good man's terms. But can I tell you something? He will never be a good woman. And your female, feminine, womanly rationale for the reason he's doing what he's doing will never be right. Because he's a man. One of the things I realized after my second divorce was how little I knew about men. I had been married to a man, it's true, but all I knew was my experience with that man, but not how men, or as the old folk would say, how men folk are. There are certain qualities and characteristics that are common among men. Whether they're good men or bad men, it's still part of in the man or men soup. Just as we women, we might not know a woman, we might not know anything about her, but there's certain things inherent to us women that we can spot things about a woman that we just met because we've grown up as women and we know the MO. We know how we think. We know how we show up. We know how we process. We know when somebody's playing games. We know when they're fake, they're phony. We know because we've been in our feminine skin all our lives. Well, then that's the same thing about men. The reason I know what I know about men is because I humble myself and let a good man teach me. And thank God I had multiple good men because those are the ones I sought out. The first men I sought out were family members who I knew were not trying to run game on me or were not trying to holler at a sister. My cousin Lawrence, God rest his soul, was my go-to. And though there were times where I thought he was wrong, he was 99.9% right. And so I had to humble myself. At first I fought with him a little bit, push back. No, you don't get it. No, you don't understand the specialness of what me and this guy have. But can I tell you, he was 99.9% right in the final analysis. Likewise, if you really want to know about men, you have to have or been under the tutelage of a good man. And sadly, many of us had good fathers, but our good fathers did not teach us what we needed to know about good men. Now, some fathers out there might have done that. They may have taught you. And if so, that's great. But just because my father was a good father and he was in my life and he and my mom stayed married till he died, so I had the benefit of growing up in a two-parent household, it still did not shield me and my sisters from all marrying the wrong men and all getting divorces. There was something wrong in the soup. Or maybe it was one of those things where I can show you better than I can tell you. And as much as I'm a daddy's girl, my dad was not a good example of a good man when it came to emotional availability and emotional accessibility. He was not. He was raised in the generation of men don't cry. And it annoyed him to high heaven if his daughters cried. It annoyed him. He thought it was weakness. And so for a very long time, I didn't know how to access myself emotionally. So therefore, I could not be emotionally available for anybody else. I didn't know how. I didn't even know it was a thing. All I knew was I felt like my parents gave me the tools and society taught me how to quote unquote earn being picked as a wife. But the person that picked me wasn't a good husband. So I had to learn first to become emotionally available for myself, learn the qualities about myself that I could respect and love based on my own definition, on my own terms, and then learn how to recognize good qualities, recognize integrity in men. And one thing I learned, ladies, that I really want you all to really hear. Just because he has good man qualities when it comes to he's a great father to his kids, he takes good care of his mom, loves his mom. His family says he's a stand-up guy and a great guy. And he goes to work every day, makes a honest living wage, good with his money. Does not mean he's going to be good to you. All those things are great things. Him going to church, y'all having similar beliefs when it comes to God and Jesus and Christianity and whatever. You might even have the same beliefs or preferences when it comes to the political spectrum. But the real test of integrity and maturity and self-work, not self-worth, but I think those go together. Self-worth and self-work is how he treats you. That's really the deciding factor. And so many times we decide that somebody's good based on how they treat everybody else than us. How we feel with him matters. If you don't feel seen or heard or that you matter, then that's important. If you feel like he has old ideals of what a woman's place is and that doesn't fit you, it matters. If beyond going to church, you don't have anything else in common, it matters. If he's uncomfortable with intimacy and affection, and you're a person that needs physical touch, it matters. If he's really ambitious and is going for his dreams and he works late and he's so busy most of the time that it's very hard to get a date with him and quality time is your love language, it matters. No matter how good everybody else says he is, or no matter what their definition is, the only way you're going to know he's a good man for you is how he treats you. I had to go through some good men who weren't good for me before I found my right man. But I never could have done it if I didn't fall out of love with my pain and fall out of love with my ideal. Because my ideals most of the time were based on, I don't want him to be like my father, and I don't want him to be like the last man that hurt my feelings. And that's not really being clear about what it is you do want. You have to be able to articulate exactly what you do want and then do the work to figure out how a man shows up with those qualities. How do you know that he has those qualities? What's the process? How do you find out? How does a man represent that has the qualities you're looking for? Are the qualities you're looking for compatible with who you are and what you really need, or something you read in a Hallmark card or saw on a romance series on television, right? And so that's what makes my work with women over 40 so important, because I didn't have these things. And as a result of it, I stumbled and bumbled and got hurt and got bloodied and got drugged through the mud and rinsed and repeated it over and over and over again, one failed relationship after another. Because I didn't know these things. That's why it's so important to me to share what I've learned with the people that really want to know. And if I'm talking to you right now, guess what? I'm available to really have a one-on-one with you. I have a free consultation, and I would love to just chat with you to hear what it is that you really, really want, and to see if maybe I can work with you to help you to get that, to see if we're a good fit, to see if this is the next right step for you at this age and stage of life. One of the things that I'm becoming increasingly clear about is the longer that I wait does not do me any favors. Every day I wait is another day I get older, another day lost. And I've found out that time is so precious that it's getting to the point where it feels like time is accelerating. And if I don't do it today, when I look up, 2 years have gone by. Right? And so now is the time. There's no better time to really do what you need to do to resolve your relationship issues. There's no time like the present. And if you want to just kind of in your trying to figure out who's the right fit for you, you'd like to vet me, feel free. Feel free. My information, my contact information is in the description. And let's just schedule a 15-minute consultation. If it goes a little over, that's okay. I usually allow 15 minutes in between my consultations so that I can just kind of pause and be fresh for the next person. So if it goes over a little bit, that's fine. But don't you deserve to know whether I'm the right fit for you? Don't you deserve to really talk to different people and vet different people and stop living with a limp that you can really heal? Stop being in love with your pain story of the reason why you are where you are. Stop with the fantasy man that you keep right on thinking that's what you need, what you want, but you don't know how to recognize him. And so you might be walking right past somebody who really could have given you exactly what you wanted, but you were so filled up with the pain you've been through that you don't know how to recognize the good man when he shows up. And I would love to be able to talk with you and let's see if what I have to offer could really benefit you. Okay? So I'd love to talk with you. Feel free to share this podcast episode out. I love comments. If something really resonated with you, I would love for you to leave a review. If you go to Apple Podcasts and type in Enough Factor Podcast, my podcast should come up. If not, go to SuzetteSolutions.com/listen. That's LIST as in Tom, EN as in Nancy. And there you'll see some very popular places where my podcast shows up. It's not all of them. You can actually Google Enough Factor Podcast and you'll see all these different podcast directories and apps and all that where my podcast shows up. Just choose your favorite. But if you're going to leave a review, which I would absolutely be so appreciative if you do, please leave it on Apple Podcasts. It really helps me with the ratings and with the algorithms, and it allows my podcast to be seen by more people. And that's really what I want. I want more people to see it and hear it, because somebody out there is waiting to hear someone just really talk about these things the way I do, and it'll resonate with them. So make sure you share it with your friends, your colleagues, your family. And I look forward to your tuning in again. My podcast is weekly, every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. You'll get my fresh perspective. Okay? So thanks again for listening. And until next time, just in case no one has told you, you are 100% worthy, 100% worth it, and 100% enough. Bye now.
You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Vernon. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough.